Standing in my bridesmaid dress, watching my sister Vanessa bask in her perfect wedding glow, I never imagined this day would become the catalyst for everything unraveling. When she grabbed the microphone during her reception speech and declared that, unlike her unemployed little sister who wastes time on silly art projects, she had built a real empire, the room erupted in laughter. What they didn't know was that my silly art projects had just sold for 7 figures to an anonymous buyer 3 days earlier. Before we dive into this wild family revenge story, I want to know where you're watching from. Drop your location in the comments below, smash that like button if you're ready for some serious family karma, and don't forget to subscribe because this story has more twists than a pretzel factory. Trust me, you won't see what's coming next. My name is Serafina Blackwood, and I'm a digital artist who specializes in creating immersive virtual reality experiences. For the past 3 years, while Vanessa built her luxury event planning company, Ethereal Occasions, I had been quietly developing what would become the most sought-after VR wedding experience platform in the industry. But my family saw me as the disappointment, the dreamer who never grew up. The wedding humiliation stung, but what happened the next morning changed everything. I was nursing my wounded pride with coffee when my phone rang. The caller ID showed a number I didn't recognize, but the voice was unmistakably professional. "Ms. Blackwood, this is Jonathan Hartwell from Hartwell Investments. We're the primary financial backers for Ethereal Occasions. I believe we need to discuss your sister's recent business practices." My blood ran cold. "I'm sorry, what does this have to do with me?" "We've discovered some irregularities in her accounts. Specifically, we found invoices for VR technology and digital art installations that she's been billing our clients for. The problem is she doesn't own any of this technology. We traced the actual source of these innovations to your portfolio." I set my coffee down with shaking hands. "What are you saying?" "Your sister has been stealing your work, Ms. Blackwood. She's been presenting your virtual reality wedding experiences as her own proprietary technology. Our clients have paid over $2 million in the past year for what they believed were exclusive Ethereal Occasions VR experiences. In reality, she was illegally using your copyrighted designs and passing them off as her own creation." The room started spinning. All those times Vanessa had dismissed my work as playing with computers, she had been studying it, learning it, and then claiming it as her own breakthrough innovation. The luxury weddings she planned weren't just about flowers and venues anymore. She had been advertising cutting-edge virtual reality experiences that allowed couples to revisit their perfect day in stunning digital detail. Experiences I had created. But how was that possible? I never gave her permission to use my work. That's where it gets interesting. We have evidence that she accessed your cloud storage through your shared family computer during holidays. She copied your entire portfolio and has been reverse engineering your code. She even filed patents under Ethereal Occasions for technology you developed. My mind raced back to every family gathering, every time I had worked on my laptop in the living room, every moment Vanessa had seemed suddenly interested in my computer stuff. She hadn't been bonding with me. She had been stealing from me. "Mr. Hartwell, I need to see this evidence." "We're prepared to share everything with you. But first, I need to ask you something important. Are you interested in justice, Ms. Blackwood? Because we have a proposition that could change both your life and your sister's." I thought about the wedding speech, about years of being called the family failure, about watching Vanessa take credit for my innovations while I struggled to make ends meet. "I'm listening." "Your sister's contracts with our clients specifically guarantee original proprietary technology. By using your stolen work, she's committed fraud on a massive scale. We could expose this immediately, but we have a better idea. We want to offer you the opportunity to become the primary VR technology provider for all luxury events in the region. Your sister's clients would become your clients legitimately this time." The irony was delicious. Vanessa had built her empire on my stolen work, and now that same work would become the foundation for my legitimate success while bringing down her house of cards. What do I need to do? Nothing yet. We'll be in touch with specific details. For now, document everything you have regarding your original work. We'll need timestamp evidence to prove creation dates. And Ms. Blackwood, don't let your sister know we've spoken. After hanging up, I sat in my apartment staring at my computer screen, looking at years of work that my own sister had stolen and profited from. But now, for the first time since that humiliating wedding speech, I was smiling. Vanessa had no idea that her mysterious investor wasn't just some silent business partner. Hartwell Investments was me. The anonymous buyer who had purchased my portfolio 3 days before her wedding was my own shell company. I had been planning to reveal my success gradually, but Vanessa's public humiliation had changed everything. Now I wasn't just going to succeed, despite her mockery. I was going to succeed because of her theft, and she would lose everything she had stolen in the process. The game was about to begin, and this time I held all the cards. 3 weeks after that life-changing phone call, I had everything I needed to destroy Vanessa's fraudulent empire. But I wasn't going to rush this. I wanted to watch her scramble to see the panic in her eyes when her perfect world started crumbling piece by piece. The first crack in her facade came during our family's monthly dinner at Mom's house. Vanessa arrived late, looking unusually frazzled. Her usually perfect hair was slightly disheveled, and she kept checking her phone obsessively. "Everything okay, honey?" Mom asked, immediately fawning over her golden child. "Just some minor business complications. Nothing I can't handle," Vanessa replied, but I caught the tremor in her voice. I knew exactly what those complications were. Jonathan Hartwell had been slowly tightening the screws, requesting detailed documentation for all of Ethereal Occasion's proprietary technology claims. Each request was perfectly reasonable from an investor's perspective, but impossible for Vanessa to fulfill legitimately since she didn't actually own any of the technology she was claiming. "Sarah, how's your little computer hobby going?" Vanessa asked with her trademark condescending smile, trying to redirect attention away from her obvious stress. "Oh, just playing around with some new virtual reality projects. Nothing as impressive as your groundbreaking VR wedding experiences," I replied innocently. The color drained from her face. "What did you just say?" "Your VR technology. The stuff you've been advertising to all your high-end clients. I've been reading about it online. Really impressive innovation." I pulled out my phone and showed her the Ethereal Occasions website, specifically the page describing their revolutionary virtual reality wedding experiences. She stared at the screen, and I could practically see her mind racing, trying to figure out how much I knew. "Where exactly did you read about this?" she asked carefully. "Oh, it's been getting coverage in several tech magazines. Apparently, there's quite a buzz in the industry about who actually developed this technology. Some people are saying it looks remarkably similar to work that's been circulating in VR development communities for years." Vanessa's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and went even paler. I knew it was another message from Hartwell Investments requesting documentation she couldn't provide. "I need to take this call," she said abruptly, stepping outside. Through the window, I watched her pacing frantically on the porch, gesturing wildly as she spoke. When she came back inside, her mask had slipped completely. "Sarah, I need to talk to you privately." We stepped into Mom's study, and for the first time in our adult lives, Vanessa looked vulnerable. "Listen, I know we've had our differences, but I need your help with something." "What kind of help?" "You know technology, right? I mean better than I do. I'm having some issues with documentation for my VR systems, and I was wondering if you could help me sort through some technical specifications." I almost laughed out loud. She was literally asking me to help her steal my own work more effectively. What specific issues are you having? My investor is asking for detailed documentation about the development process, source code creation timelines, that sort of thing. I have some of the files, but they're not organized properly. Vanessa, are you asking me to help you fake documentation for technology you didn't create? Her eyes widened in panic. No, of course not. It's my technology. I just need help organizing the paperwork. I pulled out my laptop and opened one of my original VR project files, turning the screen so she could see it. Like this file created 3 years ago with my digital signature and timestamps. She stared at the screen, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Or maybe this one. I opened another file showing the complete source code for the virtual reality wedding experience platform. Notice the copyright information and the creation date that predates your company by 18 months. Vanessa sank into a chair, the weight of her exposure crushing her. Sarah, I can explain. Please do. Explain how you've been billing clients millions of dollars for technology you stole from me. Explain how you've been presenting my work as your revolutionary innovation while publicly mocking my career as a failure. I never meant for it to go this far. I just saw what you were working on and I knew it could revolutionize the wedding industry. You weren't doing anything with it. I wasn't doing anything with it, Vanessa. I've been developing this technology for years. Just because I wasn't shouting about it from rooftops doesn't mean I wasn't planning to monetize it. But you never said anything. You acted like it was just a hobby. Because you and everyone else in this family made it clear that my work was worthless. You literally just called it a little computer hobby 20 minutes ago. She started crying, then real tears of desperation. Please, Sarah, if this comes out, I'll lose everything. The company, my reputation, everything I've built. Everything you've built on my stolen work. I'll make it right. I'll give you credit, share the profits, whatever you want. I closed my laptop and looked at her with cold satisfaction. It's too late for that, Vanessa. Much too late. What do you mean? I mean your mysterious investor, the one asking for all that documentation he and I have been talking. The realization hit her like a physical blow. You're behind this. I'm not behind anything. I'm simply reclaiming what was always mine. Hartwell Investments represents my interests now. Every contract you've signed guaranteeing original technology, every client you've defrauded with my stolen work, every patent you've illegally filed, it's all going to come out. You can't do this to me. I'm your sister. And you're a thief who tried to destroy my reputation while building your empire on my work. The sister I thought I knew wouldn't have done that. I stood up to leave but turned back at the door. Oh, and Vanessa. That anonymous buyer who purchased my portfolio for 7 figures 3 days before your wedding. That was me too. While you were mocking my failed career, I was already richer than you've ever been. The difference is I earned every penny legitimately. As I walked out of that study, leaving my sister collapsed in the chair behind me, I felt the first sweet taste of justice. But this was only the beginning. The real reckoning was still to come. The days following my confrontation with Vanessa were a whirlwind of strategic planning and alliance building. I wasn't just seeking personal revenge anymore. I was constructing a network that would ensure justice was served comprehensively and permanently. My first call was to Marcus Rivera, a renowned intellectual property lawyer who specialized in tech theft cases. When I explained the situation, his excitement was palpable. Ms. Blackwood, this isn't just theft. This is systematic fraud, copyright infringement, and potentially criminal misrepresentation. The fact that she filed patents for your work makes this a federal case. How strong is our position? With the documentation you have ironclad. Creation timestamp source code your original sketches and development notes. It's a prosecutor's dream. But we need to be strategic about how we proceed. What do you recommend? We build a coalition. Your sister has wronged more than just you. Every client who paid for your stolen technology has been defrauded. Every vendor who believed that they were working with an innovative company has been deceived. We make them all allies. That afternoon, Marcus and I met with Detective Sarah Chin from the Financial Crimes Division. She reviewed my evidence with the methodical precision of someone who had seen too many white-collar criminals think they were untouchable. The patent fraud alone carries serious penalties, she explained. But what really interests me is the scale of the client fraud. $2 million in fraudulent contracts is federal territory. We'll need to coordinate with the FBI's white-collar crime unit. How long before we can move forward? We need more evidence of the client fraud. Invoices, contracts, communications where she specifically claims to have created the technology. Can you help us gather that? I smiled. I have an idea that might get us everything we need. The next phase of my plan required reaching out to someone I never thought I would contact, Rebecca Martinez, Vanessa's former business partner who had left Ethereal Occasions under mysterious circumstances 6 months earlier. When I called Rebecca, her reaction was immediate and intense. Serafina, oh my God, are you finally ready to expose what your sister really is? Rebecca, I need to know what happened between you and Vanessa. What happened? Your sister is a sociopathic fraud. That's what happened. She forced me out of the company I helped build because I started asking questions about where she was getting all this amazing technology that she supposedly developed overnight. What kind of questions? I'm a business major, not a tech expert, but even I could see that the VR systems she was suddenly offering were incredibly sophisticated. When I asked to see the development documentation for insurance purposes, she got evasive. When I pressed harder, she accused me of not trusting her vision and forced me to sell my shares back to her for a fraction of what they were worth. Rebecca, would you be willing to testify about this to help expose the truth? Are you kidding? I've been waiting for someone to take her down. What do you need? I explained the situation, and Rebecca's enthusiasm grew with each detail. This explains everything. The way she would disappear for hours during family events, always with her laptop. The way she suddenly became an expert in technology she had never shown interest in before. She was literally stealing from her own sister. I need access to Ethereal Occasions, internal communications, client contracts, anything that shows her claiming to have created this technology. I still have access to some of the company's shared drives. She never changed the passwords after I left because she thought I was too defeated to cause problems. I can get you everything. Yeah, within 24 hours, Rebecca had provided a treasure trove of evidence. Email chains where Vanessa explicitly told clients that she had personally developed the VR technology. Contracts guaranteeing proprietary Ethereal Occasions innovations. Marketing materials claiming her as the visionary creator of virtual reality wedding experiences. But the most damaging evidence came from Vanessa's personal communications. Rebecca found emails where Vanessa had sent my stolen code to overseas developers, asking them to modify this enough so it looks different, and create variations that can't be traced back to the original. Armed with this evidence, our coalition expanded rapidly. Marcus contacted every client who had paid for VR services, and one by one they agreed to join a class action lawsuit. These weren't small-time wedding planners. They were high-profile clients who had paid premium prices for what they believed was cutting-edge original technology. Jennifer Walsh, a prominent socialite who had paid $50,000 for an elaborate VR wedding experience, was particularly incensed. She assured me personally that this technology was her own creation, that I would be getting something no one else could provide. If I find out I paid $50,000 for stolen software, I will make sure she never works in this industry again. Detective Chin was thrilled with the expanding evidence. This is exactly what we needed. Clear documentation of fraudulent claims, multiple victims, evidence of intentional deception. We can move forward with charges now. But I wasn't satisfied with just legal consequences. I wanted Vanessa to experience the same professional humiliation she had subjected me to. That's when I contacted Elena Vasquez, the editor of Luxury Wedding Magazine, the industry's most influential publication. Elena, I have a story that's going to rock the wedding industry. It involves stolen technology, fraudulent patents, and millions in client fraud. I'm listening. What if I told you that one of the industry's rising stars built her entire reputation on stolen work from her own sister? Elena's investigative instincts kicked in immediately. I'll need proof. I have documentation, witnesses, legal proceedings, and exclusive access to the victim. This isn't just a story about business fraud. It's a story about family betrayal, stolen innovation, and ultimate justice. When can we meet? As I hung up the phone, I realized that what had started as personal revenge had evolved into something much larger. I wasn't just exposing Vanessa's crimes. I was creating a network of people who had been harmed by her deception and giving them a path to justice. But the most important alliance was yet to come. That evening, I received a call from an unexpected source, David Kim Vanessa's current fiancé, who had been suspiciously quiet since her wedding meltdown. Serafina, we need to talk. There's something about Vanessa that you need to know, and something about this situation that doesn't add up. What do you mean? I mean, I've been doing some investigating of my own, and I think your sister's problems go much deeper than stolen technology. Meet me tomorrow. There's something she's been hiding from everyone, including you. As I agreed to meet David, I realized that the web of deception I was unraveling might be even more complex than I had imagined. Vanessa's theft of my work might just be the tip of the iceberg. The alliance was complete. The evidence was overwhelming, and justice was finally within reach. But David's cryptic warning suggested that the biggest revelations were still to come. Meeting David at the small coffee shop downtown, I expected him to provide additional evidence against Vanessa. What I didn't expect was for him to shatter everything I thought I knew about this situation. Serafina, before we begin, I need you to understand that I've been working with your sister longer than you realize. David said, his hands nervously fidgeting with his coffee cup. What do you mean you two have been together for 2 years? No, we've been romantically involved for 2 years, but I've been working with her for 4 years, since before she started stealing your technology. My blood went cold. Working with her, how? I'm a forensic accountant specializing in corporate fraud. Vanessa hired me initially to help her understand how to acquire certain intellectual properties without legal complications. The words hit me like a physical blow. You helped her steal from me. Not directly, but yes. She came to me with samples of your work, claiming she was worried about protecting family intellectual property. She asked me to help her understand copyright laws, patent processes, and how to legally claim ownership of existing technology. I felt sick. You knew she was planning to steal my work, and you helped her. At first, I thought she was legitimately trying to protect family assets. She's very convincing, Serafina. She painted you as irresponsible someone who created valuable work but had no business sense to protect or monetize it. She said the family was concerned about you losing everything to predatory companies. That's completely false. I know that now, but 4 years ago, I believed her. I helped her understand how to file patents, how to establish creation timelines, how to build a paper trail that would hold up in court. My mind raced through the implications. The patents she filed for my work, you helped her with those? David nodded miserably. Every single one. I showed her how to modify your original work just enough to claim it as derivative innovation, how to backdate documents, how to create false development timelines. Why are you telling me this now? Because 6 months ago, I started having doubts. When Rebecca left the company asking questions about the technology origins, I began investigating Vanessa's claims more thoroughly. I accessed your original files and compared them to what she had filed. The similarities weren't just striking, they were identical in ways that proved she had copied everything. I stared at him, struggling to process the magnitude of this betrayal. Not only had Vanessa stolen from me, but she had recruited a professional to help her do it systematically. So, when I started building my case against her when I thought I was finally getting justice, you were feeding her information about my strategy. Yes, he whispered. Every move you made, every piece of evidence you gathered, every alliance you built. I told her everything. The coffee shop seemed to spin around me. All those careful plans, all the evidence I had gathered, all the allies I had recruited. Vanessa had known about everything from the beginning. The phone call from Hartwell Investments that started this whole thing. She knew you were behind it within hours of your first meeting. I told her about the shell company structure, about Marcus Rivera, about Detective Chin, about Rebecca's cooperation, about the magazine article. Everything. Why would you help her after you knew she was lying? Because she threatened me. David's voice broke. Serafina, I didn't just help her steal your work. In the process, I committed multiple felonies. Document fraud, conspiracy to commit intellectual property theft, mail fraud for the patent filings. If this comes out, I don't just lose my career, I go to prison. So you decided to sacrifice me to save yourself. I thought I could help her stay ahead of your investigation long enough to find a way out for both of us. But last week, something changed. What changed? She told me that she had a plan to discredit you completely, to make it look like you were the one who stole the technology from her. She showed me fabricated documents that would prove you had access to Ethereal Occasions systems and had stolen proprietary technology for your own portfolio. The audacity was breathtaking. Not only had she stolen my work, but she was planning to flip the entire narrative and make me look like the thief. She's been preparing for months, Serafina. Fake email chains showing you requesting access to her systems. Modified timestamps on her files to predate yours. Witness statements from employees claiming they saw you taking photographs of proprietary documents. But none of that is real. No, but it would be enough to create reasonable doubt and destroy your credibility. By the time the truth came out, your reputation would be ruined, and she would have successfully muddied the waters enough to escape serious consequences. I felt the walls closing in around me. Everything I had worked for, all the justice I thought I was finally achieving, had been manipulated from the start. David, why are you telling me this now? What's changed? Because yesterday she told me the final part of her plan. She's not just going to discredit you professionally, she's going to have you arrested for corporate espionage and theft. She's already planted evidence on your personal devices, and she's planning to tip off the authorities tomorrow. What kind of evidence? She's planted copies of her client files on your computer, made it look like you've been systematically stealing proprietary information from her company for years. When the police search your apartment, they'll find contracts, client lists, financial records, everything that would suggest you've been conducting corporate espionage. I sat in stunned silence, realizing how completely I had been outmaneuvered. While I thought I was building a case against Vanessa, she had been building a trap around me. There's more, David continued. The coalition you built, Marcus Rivera, Detective Chin, Rebecca Martinez, even some of the clients, she's been feeding them information designed to make them doubt your story. Planted evidence suggesting you might be unstable, that this whole thing might be a delusion brought on by professional jealousy. That's why you wanted to meet with me. You're still working for her, aren't you? This is all part of her plan. David looked genuinely tortured. No, Serafina, I'm here because I can't be part of destroying an innocent person. Yes, I helped her steal from you, and I'll have to live with that for the rest of my life. But I won't be part of framing you for crimes you didn't commit. So what are you proposing? I want to help you expose the truth, all of it. Her theft, my complicity, the planted evidence, the frame job, everything. But we have to move fast. She's planning to execute her final plan tomorrow morning. I looked at this man who had helped destroy my life and was now offering to help save it. Could I trust him? Did I have any choice? What exactly do you want me to do? I have copies of everything. All the real evidence showing how we systematically stole your work. All the fabricated evidence she's planning to use against you, recordings of her explaining the frame job. But I need your help to make sure it gets to the right people before she can execute her plan. Why should I trust you? You've been lying to me for years. Because if her plan succeeds, we both go down. She's already told me that once you're arrested, she'll blame everything on me. I'll be the fall guy who helped her steal the technology and then tried to cover it up by framing you. The realization hit me like a lightning bolt. Vanessa hadn't just been playing me. She had been playing everyone, including her own accomplice. She never intended to protect you, did she? No, I was always meant to be the expendable partner, the professional who got greedy and manipulated both sisters for personal gain. As I sat there looking at David's desperate face, I realized that the betrayal I thought was the worst part of this story was actually just setting up for something even more devastating. But for the first time since this nightmare began, I also saw a path to complete victory. If Vanessa wanted to play games with evidence and manipulation, I was about to show her what real strategy looked like. The next 18 hours were the most intense of my life. David and I didn't just have to expose Vanessa's crimes. We had to do it while avoiding the elaborate trap she had set for me. But I had one advantage she didn't know about. I had been recording everything since our first confrontation. David, before we move forward, I need you to understand something. Every conversation I've had about this situation has been recorded, including this one. His face went pale. You've been recording me. After being betrayed by my own sister, I wasn't taking any chances with anyone else. But here's the thing. Those recordings prove that what you're telling me now is consistent with genuine remorse and a desire to make things right. They also prove that you're taking enormous personal risk to warn me. What are you saying? I'm saying that if we do this right, those recordings could be the evidence that saves both of us. Your cooperation could be the difference between being charged as a co-conspirator and being recognized as a cooperating witness. Working through the night, we developed a plan that was both elegant and devastating. While Vanessa prepared to spring her trap, we would spring a bigger one. Our first move was to contact FBI Special Agent Lisa Torres, who specialized in complex white-collar fraud cases. David had worked with her before on legitimate cases, which gave us credibility we wouldn't have had otherwise. Agent Torres, we have a situation involving systematic intellectual property theft, fraud conspiracy, and an imminent attempt to frame the actual victim for the crimes, David explained during our emergency meeting. That's quite an accusation. What evidence do you have? I laid out everything my original work, the stolen technology, the fraudulent patents, and most importantly, David's confession and the evidence he had gathered about Vanessa's counterframe operation. Ms. Blackwood, you understand that Mr. Kim is admitting to federal crimes by helping your sister. Why should we believe this isn't just an attempt to shift blame? Because I have recordings of him warning me about the frame job, and because he's provided evidence that he could only have if he was telling the truth about his involvement. David opened his laptop and showed Agent Torres the fabricated evidence Vanessa had prepared to plant on my devices. These files are scheduled to be remotely installed on Serafina's computer this morning. The anonymous tip about corporate espionage is scheduled to be called in at 10 a.m. If you monitor her computer and intercept those files as they're being planted, you'll have real-time evidence of the frame job in progress. Agent Torres studied the evidence with growing amazement. This level of premeditation and sophistication, this isn't just fraud anymore. This is organized conspiracy with intent to pervert justice. There's more, I added. I have recordings of every conversation with every ally I thought I was building. Vanessa had inside information about all of it, which means she's been manipulating this entire situation from the beginning, including the civil lawsuit and the magazine article. Everything. She's been feeding information to undermine my credibility while building her counter-narrative. Agent Torres made a decision that changed everything. We're going to let her frame job proceed, but with federal oversight. We'll monitor the evidence planting in real-time, record the false tip, and document the entire conspiracy as it unfolds. But our most crucial ally emerged from an unexpected source, Elena Vasquez from Luxury Wedding Magazine. Serafina, I need to tell you something about the article I've been working on. I've been contacted by someone claiming to represent your sister, offering me a different version of events. What kind of different version? They provided evidence suggesting that you've been systematically stealing from your sister's company and that your claims of theft are actually projection. They painted you as an unstable individual who became delusional after professional failures. Did you believe it? At first, I was confused. The evidence was quite convincing, but then I did something that apparently no one expected. I hired an independent forensic digital analyst to examine all the evidence from both sides. Elena showed us a comprehensive report that demolished Vanessa's fabricated evidence. Your sister made one crucial mistake. When she backdated documents to support her claims, she didn't account for metadata that can't be altered. Every file she claims predates your work actually shows creation dates that prove they were modified recently. So the truth is documented. Better than that, the forensic analysis proves not just that she stole your work, but that she recently created false evidence to cover it up. This isn't just theft anymore. It's systematic fraud with intent to destroy an innocent person. Armed with this independent verification, we had everything we needed for the final phase of our plan. At 9:30 a.m. on the day Vanessa planned to have me arrested, FBI agents were monitoring my computer systems, while Agent Torres sat in an unmarked van outside my apartment. At exactly 9:55, just as David had predicted, multiple files began appearing on my system through remote access. We've got real-time evidence of the frame job, Agent Torres confirmed through her earpiece. Documenting the illegal access and evidence planting now. At exactly 10 a.m., an anonymous call was placed to the local police reporting suspected corporate espionage by me. But instead of finding a confused victim, they found federal agents waiting with a full documentation of the conspiracy in progress. Meanwhile, Elena's article had gone live at 9 a.m., complete with the forensic analysis, David's confession, and recorded evidence of the entire conspiracy. By the time Vanessa called in her false tip, the entire wedding industry was already reading about her systematic fraud and attempted frame job. But the most satisfying moment came when Agent Torres called Vanessa to schedule an interview about some irregularities in the corporate espionage case. Ms. Blackwood, we've discovered some interesting evidence in your sister's case. We'd like you to come in to clarify some timeline issues. I could hear the confidence in Vanessa's voice as she agreed to the meeting. She thought she had won, that her plan had worked perfectly. 2 hours later, when Agent Torres played the recordings of Vanessa's conversations with David planning the frame job, the color drained from her face completely. Ms. Blackwood, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, intellectual property theft, wire fraud, and conspiracy to obstruct justice. As the handcuffs clicked shut around Vanessa's wrists, I felt a satisfaction deeper than simple revenge. This was justice, complete and undeniable. But the most powerful moment came when David voluntarily surrendered himself to face charges for his role in the original theft. "Agent Torres, I want to cooperate fully with the prosecution. I helped commit these crimes and I need to face the consequences." His cooperation and genuine remorse earned him a plea deal that would result in probation and community service rather than prison time. But more importantly, it provided the final piece of evidence needed to ensure Vanessa faced the full consequences of her actions. As I watched my sister being led away in handcuffs, I realized that this story was about more than stolen technology or family betrayal. It was about the difference between seeking revenge and demanding justice, and about the power of truth to ultimately prevail over even the most elaborate deceptions. 6 months later, standing in the courthouse as the judge read Vanessa's sentence, I felt a closure I never thought possible. The woman who had stolen my work, mocked my dreams, and tried to destroy my life was being held accountable for every crime she had committed. "Vanessa Blackwood, you are hereby sentenced to 5 years in federal prison for conspiracy to commit fraud, intellectual property theft, wire fraud, and conspiracy to obstruct justice. Additionally, you are ordered to pay restitution in the amount of $3.2 million to the victims of your fraud." The courtroom was packed with her former clients, all of whom had joined the class action lawsuit that Marcus Rivera had masterfully orchestrated. Jennifer Walsh, the socialite who had paid $50,000 for stolen VR technology, made a statement that perfectly captured the sentiment of everyone Vanessa had deceived. This wasn't just about money. This was about trust, integrity, and the fundamental belief that when we pay for innovation, we're supporting genuine creativity. Vanessa Blackwood didn't just steal technology. She stole credit from the real innovator and betrayed every client who believed in her authenticity. But the legal victory was only part of my vindication. Elena's article in Luxury Wedding magazine had sparked an industry-wide conversation about intellectual property protection and the importance of verifying technological claims. My legitimate VR wedding experiences were now in demand across the country, with clients specifically requesting to work with the real innovator rather than the fraud who had stolen her work. Rebecca Martinez had become my business partner, bringing her event planning expertise to complement my technological innovations. Together, we launched Authentic VR Experiences, a company built on transparency, genuine innovation, and ethical business practices. "You know what the best part is?" Rebecca said as we toured our new office space. "Every client who comes to us mentions the article. They want to work with us specifically because they know our technology is real, our innovations are genuine, and our integrity is absolute." David had kept his word about cooperation and accountability. His testimony had been crucial in securing Vanessa's conviction, and his forensic accounting skills had helped recover funds for the defrauded clients. As part of his community service, he was working with the FBI to help other victims of intellectual property fraud, turning his expertise toward justice rather than deception. "I can't undo what I did," he told me during one of our quarterly check-ins mandated by his plea agreement. "But I can spend the rest of my career making sure other people don't get away with what I helped your sister do." The most unexpected development came from my family's reaction to the truth. When the full scope of Vanessa's deception became public, my parents were forced to confront years of favoritism and willful blindness to her manipulative behavior. "Sarah, we owe you an apology that goes far deeper than this situation," my mother said during a tearful family meeting. "We enabled Vanessa's behavior for years, and in doing so, we failed to see and support your genuine achievements." "It's not just about the stolen technology," my father added. "It's about every time we dismissed your work, every time we let her take credit for things you had accomplished, every time we chose to believe her version of events without questioning it." The family healing process was ongoing, but for the first time in my adult life, I felt truly seen and valued by the people who were supposed to support me unconditionally. 6 months after Vanessa's sentencing, I received a call that brought the story full circle. Jonathan Hartwell from Hartwell Investments, the real one, not my shell company, wanted to discuss a legitimate investment opportunity. Ms. Blackwood, we've been following your story and your company's growth. We're interested in providing significant funding for expansion of your VR technology into other industries beyond weddings. What kind of expansion? Corporate training, educational experiences, therapeutic applications, entertainment venues. Your technology has applications far beyond what your sister ever imagined. The irony was perfect. The same innovation that Vanessa had stolen and used fraudulently was now legitimately attracting the kind of investment attention she had always craved. As I sit here today reflecting on this incredible journey from humiliation to vindication, I'm struck by how much this experience taught me about justice, forgiveness, and the power of truth. Vanessa's crimes weren't just about stealing technology. They were about stealing credit, stealing dreams, and stealing the narrative of someone else's success. But in trying to destroy me, she inadvertently created the circumstances that led to my greatest triumph. The wedding speech that humiliated me became the catalyst for exposing her fraud. The theft that was meant to destroy my career became the foundation for building a legitimate empire. The frame job that should have ruined me instead provided irrefutable proof of her criminal intent. Sometimes the most profound justice comes not from revenge, but from simply allowing the truth to unfold completely. But here's what I want to know from you. Have you ever experienced family betrayal that made you question everything you thought you knew about the people closest to you? How did you handle discovering that someone you trusted had been systematically undermining you? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because I'd love to hear about your experiences with family karma and justice. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button to let me know. Subscribe for more real-life stories about justice, family drama, and the satisfaction of truth prevailing over deception. And share this video with anyone who needs to hear that sometimes the people who try to steal your thunder end up highlighting your lightning. Thank you for taking this journey with me, and remember, your authentic work, your genuine efforts, and your honest character will always triumph over those who try to succeed through deception. The truth has a way of surfacing eventually, and when it does, justice follows close behind. Stay authentic, stay strong, and never let anyone convince you that your dreams are too small or your innovations are worthless. Sometimes the very people who mock your vision are the ones who secretly know its true value.